So what I wanted to talk about today was what factors actually influences gaining weight. Because most of us are very practiced at both releasing weight and unfortunately refinding it. But there are reasons why we do this. There are specific reasons and triggers that that make it almost a fait accompli that you're going to regain it, unless you're aware of these things, and unless you the way that you approach your weight loss, the way that you approach your lifestyle is not a diet. Okay, this is really fundamentally where the difference is. So one of the major factors of why we regain weight is biology. Simple biology. Our bodies and our brains want to defend against weight loss. If you think about our history, if you think about when we were living in the tundra, or when we were living in the wastelands, and we were having to find our own food, we were having to find our own food, we were having to hunt and gather, there weren't shops to go to. There were periods where we were forced into fasting. There were periods where food was short. You know, there was a shortage of food. And so we would naturally start to release the weight because we'd be utilizing our stores. Now, what our brains and our bodies want to do is to make sure that we survive that period of famine. And so we have the most amazing ability to be able to utilize every little morsel of what we have and to make it last as long as possible, which is fabulous if you're surviving a starvation period. But if we are overfed and undernourished, that's not so good for us, because our bodies are still trying to hold on to everything. So if you have a massive weight loss, if you have a significant weight loss, then your brain will actually recognize that you're having this massive weight loss, and it wants to defend against it. Bottom line, it wants to defend against releasing weight too quickly, and it wants to promote weight gain or weight retention so that you survive. So we're fighting biology here. Or rather, we could work with biology here if we have a different mindset. Rather than a diet mindset, we have a nurturing mindset, okay? So biology is not against us, it's actually for us, it's actually keeping us alive. But for those of us that want to release weight and keep it off, it's something we need to be really mindful of. Our biology wants us to do the exact opposite. So we need to be mindful. That's okay. How does our body do that? Well, basically, it does it in two ways. It either increases our appetite so that we eat more, or it decreases our metabolism. The one that generally happens the most is that our appetite increases. So if you're noticing that your appetite's increasing, or that you're snacking, or that you're finding, then that may well be your biology working to try to replenish. So we need to send signals to our body that there is plenty, there is an abundance of food, and there's an abundance around us, and it doesn't have to go into that mode. So gentle weight loss, eating plenty of food, eating lots of food, so that, and never going hungry, those are key to ensuring that our brain and body biology doesn't kick in to try and regain that weight. Okay. So the other aspect that has a massive impact is dieting. Any kind of calorie restriction, any kind of massive effort, like you have to weigh everything, measure everything, you've got a list of foods that you have to eat and you can't eat, and that kind of a mental restriction, or an effort, like you have to have a shake and you can't eat anything else. That's unsustainable. It's absolutely unsustainable. And if it's unsustainable, the moment you stop doing that, your brain and your body will kick in and you'll put the weight back on. So it needs whatever this diet mentality of restriction, or of you can have this, you can't have this, all those kind of negative guilt vibes, they will have a major impact on your ability to be able to keep to it, and your brain will fight against it. So the biggest predictor of whether you'll put the weight back on again is, can you sustain what you're doing long term? Is what you're doing to lose the weight, is what you're doing to release the weight sustainable? Is it something that you can continue as a way of life, not a diet? And that's where that mindset needs to be. It is, I'm not on a diet, I'm not trying to lose weight, I am nurturing my body, and this is the way I'm going to live for the rest of my life, and settle into it, be comfortable in it. So and our best weight to be at, rather than trying to lose too much weight, rather than trying to get too slim, because if you go too far, your biology will take over. It will absolutely take over, and your metabolism will slow, or your appetite will increase, and you'll regain the weight. So there's a lovely definition of what your best weight is. Your definition of best weight is one that is arrived at by committing to the opposite of dieting. Your best weight is discovered by committing to a sustainable calorie level. Now, we don't talk about calories in what we do here, but what we're talking about is a sustainable level of eating. Don't go hungry. Eat plenty. Eat lots of really good food, okay? Just don't go hungry. And then in a way that is sustainable effort-wise. So it's not too hard to do. You're not restricting yourself. It's ease and flow. It's all about this ease and flow with what you're doing, to nurture yourself, to nourish yourself. And then accepting a conscious commitment to the value of fun, food, drink, friends, socializing, and travel. In other words, you have a life. Okay? What you're doing should not prevent you from having all the fun in the world in your life. If it does, if you take yourself out of that scenario in order to lose weight, it's unsustainable. It just won't happen. So everything that you do wants to be easy, it wants to flow, and it wants to include having a social life, interacting is so important to us, interacting with people, and having a glass of wine, or having a dessert, and not feeling guilty. Okay, don't feel guilty about it. Not feeling guilty about it. So this is where we're looking at changing our mindset and getting the balance. One of the other things that can have a massive impact on your weight, and it did for me, is a change in circumstances. Okay, so I was a fitness instructor. I was heavy, then I lost the weight, I became a fitness instructor, I was training every day, I was teaching classes 2-3 times a day, 6 days a week, and I was eating virtually nothing. Literally, I mean, I would come home from work and Barry would make me a massive salad, to be fair. I'd be eating that at 10 o'clock at night. I would be eating a salad at 10 o'clock at night, which is not good. But during the day when I was on my own, I would be so involved in work. I would be so involved in with all the things I needed to do to run a business. I'd forget to eat. So I'd be on one salad a day. And then I'd be doing all this exercise. So the moment that changed, the moment I stopped teaching and the moment we went on the road, I gained 3 stone, 52 pounds, 42 pounds in 3 months. Huge. I went from a size 10 to a size 18 in 3 months. I went through all those dress sizes in just 3 months. H&M on our travels was my friend, because it was the only place that I could get the same clothes in all those different sizes, and it didn't and not cost me an absolute arm and a leg. So absolutely, change in external factors can have a massive impact both ways. So the best thing to do is to try where you can to have a normal to not manage your external environment to help you lose weight. In other words, don't stop going out so that you lose weight. Don't stop having birthday parties because you want to lose weight. Because what will happen is the moment they come back in, it'll go back on. So it's got to be ease and flow, ease and flow, ease and flow. The other thing is, so discontinuance of behavioral therapy. Okay, during the course of the program, we talk a lot about our mental attachment, our emotional attachment to food, as well as the physiological attachment to food. And we give you tools, and those tools are really, really, really key to working out how foods are affecting you and how you're affecting what you're eating. Those are key. Keep using those. If you stop using those, then your biology will kick in. So, or your emotions will kick in. So still try and be curious, conscious, empathize with yourself. Really use empathy, okay? And don't beat yourself up when you go off track. You're not off track. Those of you who work with me know that I talk constantly about the fact you cannot fail. You cannot fail at what you're doing. You're making a conscious choice. And whilever you're making a conscious choice, you will succeed. Whilever you learn from what you do, you're succeeding. You cannot fail. All I ever ask you to do is to be curious about what's going on. If you're curious about it and you're empathic with yourself about it, then it won't take over. It can't take over, because if you're curious about, I wonder why I felt like that, or I wonder what's happened there, you'll learn. And as soon as you learn, you can't unknow what you know. Okay, so keep those tools in your toolbox. Keep them at the forefront of your toolbox. And every time something happens that trips you up, or every time something happens where you feel like, I don't understand why I suddenly reacted like that, get curious about it. Get curious. Okay. Weight loss setbacks. So when you have a little bit of slip, when you have a period of time where maybe you are not in control of what you're eating because you're at somebody else's house, or you're on holiday or whatever, becoming massively self-critical about that is demotivating and not helpful. Again, I'm going to go back to be curious instead of being negative about it, instead of being self-critical, instead of beating yourself up about it. Get curious. Just get curious. Okay, it happened. What happened? How did it happen? How did I feel? How does I feel now? How does it make my body feel? Because if you're curious about it, you can learn from it. If you can learn from it, you can change the way you behave next time. Okay. One factor that pops up for anyone who's taking medication. So if you're taking steroids or things like that, some of them can have a weight gain side effect. And that's a difficult one to deal with. If you can go back to, if you find that one of your medications is having an impact like that, one of two things can happen. If it's a short-term prescription, then just roll with it. And then come back to your normal way of ease and flow, the way you're living. Because if you do that, your body will settle and it'll start to release again. But if it's something that you have to take longer term, then my suggestion would be go and see your doctor and see if there's a version that doesn't have the weight gain aspect to it. Because there's lots and lots of different versions of medication out there. So don't just sit with it. If it's something that's having an impact on you and you're struggling against it, then go and see your doctor. and see if there is another option, or another prescription or another supplier where there aren't those side effects. Okay, so don't sit with it. And then the last one is all those things, internal states that then affect the way that our body deals with weight. So things like stress, fatigue, lack of sleep, depression, lower levels of activity. Maybe you've broken your leg and you can't get out and about the way that you would do. These kind of things can also promote weight gain. And if you are struggling with any of those things, if you're struggling with stress, if you're struggling with fatigue, if you're struggling with lack of sleep or depression, it's not the weight loss that you want to be, or the weight gain the weight gain is a symptom. So what you want to be doing is you want to be looking at what's the cause, not the effect. The effect is the weight gain. What's the cause? And if the cause is depression, for example, then do you need to see someone to help with that? If the answer is no, I'm not at that place yet, then what can you do to bring yourself out of that state? So it's finding out what the cause is, and then seeing if there's a way of changing that state, changing that internal state that's creating the weight gain. Going into diet mode to change that doesn't change your mental state, doesn't change your internal state. So you could go 500 calories a day. Yes, you would release some weight, but you're not changing that internal state. As soon as you start increasing your calories, that internal state is going to create a biological response and you'll put weight on. Okay. So look for the cause, not the symptom. Okay. So hopefully that's given you a few thoughts. So summarizing all of that, there are these factors that influence our biology, that influence our potential weight gain. But once you know them, once you understand them, there are lots and lots and lots of ways of being able to minimize the impact on those. And my biggest piece of advice is don't go on a diet. Do not go on a diet. Learn a way of living that nurtures your body, that nourishes your body, that nurtures your emotions, your mental state, your emotional state. Because when you do that, your body relaxes, your body gets confident, gets comfortable, feels safe. And as soon as it does that, anything that it's not happy with, anything that isn't supporting your body, which an extra weight isn't supporting your body if you're carrying too much, your body will let it go. But it will let it go when it's nourished, when it feels safe, when it feels confident, and when it feels loved. Okay, so that's my advice. Have a great day.